Hey guys, how are you?
Been a while since you've seen us both together.
We've been recording some podcast and we just wanted to come in here to start having a little bit more of a conversation online. We've been going through now for the past few years of running events in person with people. It's amazing, but the current situation that we're going through makes it challenging, and we wanted to actually start doing more of this and to be able to bring the conversation into this digital atmosphere and to be able to talk more and to be able to connect from this place.
So you'll be seeing a lot more of us officially in the coming weeks, but also unofficially, like we're here today, because Brian and I just feel like putting our little piece of support out into the online world. We've been recording the podcast for future launch, so the podcast is not really directly related to what's going on, but obviously we want to contribute and be discussing that. So that's what this conversation is about, really. Where do we start?
Yeah, well, the first thing is asking you, how are you? How are you doing? How these challenging times is impacting you? How is it impacting your well-being, your work, your family? There's different, depending on where you are, like you're either on quarantine or isolation or self-isolation, or if you are like here in New Zealand, there's a lot of restrictions, but none of the above really, unless you just arrive to the country traveling. So that's the first thing, understanding that we care about how you're doing, we are here for you, and we want to make sure that this is something that we are doing as individuals in our lives, and that hopefully we can all do this for each other, just being there, because it's super important at these challenging times to actually be able to be there for one another and to support each other. And sometimes all that like actually matters is to saying to someone, hey, how are you? And that might be enough. So that's what I wanted to start, like just putting it out there. Feel free to comment or to send like a private message if that is like what you prefer, but know that we're here for you.
Yeah, and we'll talk more about this at the end of the video, but we will be running a live session in the coming days. We'll have a think about when that is, and we will be here to help you, support you through anything that you're fearing, anything that you're going on that needs to shift in your life or you'd like to shift, any hard times or anything that you think that we can support you with. We'll be doing a live. So for now, we're just going to talk about our own experiences, and then feel free to comment, as Brian said. Otherwise, we'll be running a live session very soon. So, well, I might start because
go.
I've just been talking to Brian and a couple of other friends this morning about how I'm feeling at the moment. Like many of you, we've got a bit of a group chat going on, and there's been a lot of voice messages, so it's been really nice to hear each other's voices, but also hear everyone's experiences. And I shared this morning that I was feeling a little bit like a crazy person, a little bit guilty, because I am feeling in these times extremely grounded. So I questioned whether I was being ignorant. I questioned whether I was being, I don't know, complacent. But I was very supported by Brian and my other friends. In that this is just my experience. My experience at this time is that I feel very, very grounded. I am so all of my energy is in a very future time. I'm not stuck in what's going on at the moment. I'm very much focused on the opportunity we have to do things differently. I feel like this is a really exciting time for the planet. It's an exciting time to be alive. it is hard. It is going to impact us all in incredibly challenging ways, including myself. But I just don't feel like focusing on that. I'm just so excited about what's coming. We live in a time, or we have been living in a time, where so many systems have been failing us. And at our conscious action events and in our conversations, we're often discussing this. We're talking about how we wish that things were different. And now things are in the process of crumbling to an extent. I wrote in my newsletter yesterday, it's like a tide is kind of taking away our sandcastle. And, you know, we've been building this sandcastle for so long, 32 years, and we know it so well, and it's being taken away from us, and it's scary, and it's sad, and there's a grieving, our poor sandcastle, if it goes into the tide. But I just feel so excited for the opportunity to build a new one. And we, as a kind of humanity, before any of us were alive, it started getting carved out from a place of growth and money and success defined as money, and none of us really resonate with that anymore. So now we have this opportunity to build new foundations from love and happiness and balance. And so I'm just so excited about the Italians singing on their balconies. Apparently there's dolphins in the waterways in Italy. The canals in Venice, you can see fish. The air pollution in China, the air pollution in Italy. And I'm sure there are so many more exciting conversations, co-working, or like working from home, and people not having to commute, the traffic in Auckland, and there's just so many exciting things. And I just don't think we can go back to how things were. And I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I know that there's a lot of fear in the unknown, but there must be an element in all of you that is a little bit excited about that possibility. And I feel like my role in this conversation and over the coming weeks is to just keep myself in that grounded place and be a pillar of support for anyone who wants to absorb some grounded energy or some optimism. I am here for that, because I just can't seem to shake it. I feel like a crazy person. Seriously, I feel like a crazy person. But that's how I feel at the moment. How do you feel?
I feel great. Like a lot of things, I find that I am super excited. And I made a few videos about this. Like, I've been talking for a few years about how I wish the world would stop for 2 weeks.
Yes.
Not with the virus, not with all of the like things
what
that are
was
happening.
It gonna be with?
But I don't know. I was just like, there's a pause button, like, and we're going to like. But I thought, like, you know, I've been thinking for years, and like, how amazing would it be if we can take the time to actually rethink and reassess and connect with ourselves in a real way. And see, am I living the life that I want to be living? Am I doing the things that I want to be doing? How we are connecting with other people, how we are connecting with the environment. And for a lot of that, and this is one of the key things that we talk about with conscious action, and that I talk about in my work as well, is disconnection. And the fact that we are disconnected from that a lot of times doesn't allow us to see clearly. But now, for example, like as you just mentioned, like, the air like is clear, and like you can see the sky.
It's a metaphor, isn't it?
Like,
isn't it a metaphor?
But it's like now, like people can clearly see, like, if we stop for a few weeks, not only for a few weeks, that is the reality. That means that actually the impact that we are having every single day, producing and polluting, is huge. So when we're able to see all of that, now we can see, okay, what are the possibilities? What are the opportunities? And yes, this is challenging, and like I've been having a lot of conversations with so many people. There's a lot of uncertainty about work. There's a lot of uncertainty about like money. People, including me, like, are we going to be able to like continue making money, pay rent, like things like that? But at the same time, I am fortunate that I have a practice and I have the tools to keep me grounded, to keep me centered, to keep me in the present moment. Because this is one of the biggest things that I think for a lot of people. We are experiencing not only a virus, we are experiencing panic. And we're experiencing everything that comes with that. And a lot of that is not being present and not having the tools to be present. If I am present, the only thing that is happening in this moment is I'm here talking with you, I'm talking to the camera. Like that is all that is happening. There's no virus, there's no challenges about money, there's nothing else in this moment because I'm here. Like of course those stuff are still over there, but can I stay here? And this is where I think that this time might be amazing for that, for the world to be able to reconnect with our inner resources and to understand like it's not all about the hypotheticals, it's not all about like what the future could bring, it's not all about what is happening or what might happen, it's also what is. And when we're able to be with that, like things could be amazing. And like I'm really excited because this is an amazing time to reimagine how we live as a society. Like, do the system, as you mentioned before, do our systems actually work, or should we perhaps try to
Pivot.
see in a different way? Like,
Yeah.
do we actually need to come back to more community-based living, sharing, like instead of all the time like being able to live in this fast-paced world with money and success being about money and power, and that might not be it anymore. Now it's about connection, it's about collaboration, coming together. Like this is one of the things for me that it's incredible. Like how connected are we in the world? Like,
And if you can't figure that out
Yeah.
during this time, like you're very distracted, because I think like, you know, a lot of people, teachers, general people, a lot of people, I didn't mean that. A lot of people have always said we're all connected. You know, that message of we're all connected is something that maybe we can believe on a sort of a knowledge level, but now we are experiencing it.
Yeah.
And I think that if you imagine, and again I talked about this in my little newsletter last night, if you can imagine the virus being spread from one mouth to another, from one hand to another, which is very imaginable right now because that's what's happening, can you also imagine your energy, your thoughts, your gestures, your smiles, your hugs, your acts of kindness, the way they spread and how quickly, like this is a very physical manifestation of the ripple effect. We are experiencing the ripple effect, and to realize how connected we are and how quickly, you know, those connections are moving around the whole planet is also exciting, you know, or how quickly change is happening, you know, lockdown, bang, aviation, bang, working from home, bang. Decisions can be made, whether they're governments or not, can be made so quickly when there's an urgency. And we don't want to go into the climate change rabbit hole, but obviously that's been an example of slow action. Even though we all declared a state of emergency, that seemed to be a bit of a trend.
Yeah.
There was no urgent action, and now we can see the potential we have to create change when we need to. So
Yeah.
that's exciting for me.
Yeah, and this for me, like, I mean, what this has done is that there is no difference between anyone, no matter your color, your religion, your ethnicity, your country. This is where I think that the potential of this situation is that we are human beings. Like, there's no difference. Like, could this be an opportunity for us to redefine our differences, to redefine what actually makes us the same instead of what is making us different? Could we use this opportunity to perhaps, and I don't know if this will happen, but this is something that for many years I've been thinking, like, could we not have countries anymore?
Yeah.
Like, what makes a New Zealander different than anybody else? What makes a North American or like someone from Europe different than from somewhere? It's like there's actually no difference, and this situation is showing us that. So all of the privileged countries and all of the people that have been privileged for a while we are getting impacted the same way that those that are not. And can we use this opportunity to actually reshape that, to be able to help one another? Because we're all in this together. So understanding that we need each other and to come back from that place. So I'm super excited about what will come throughout this time and after these challenging times. I believe that we are not going to come back to normal.
No.
Like whatever like we're going to go into is going to be a new normal. And that is where like we can create that. If we take the opportunity, we can create the new normal, and we can create it in a way that is more related to connection, more related to kindness and well-being and community, and taking all of these different things into consideration, and not leaving anyone aside or behind, like just being able to say what's the best way for us to continue. Yes, it's going to be super challenging. Yes, it's going to impact a lot of people in a lot of different ways, just as this current situation is now. But what can come from the other side? Like I like from a spiritual standpoint, like these are amazing times, because anytime that we need something to change or to grow, something deep needs to happen. Like anytime that we want this to happen, this needs to happen first to then go up. So a lot of times we need the systems to collapse before we can create something new.
And the more we kind of are, from the biggest dirt comes the biggest gold, whatever that saying is. Sometimes like the deeper you go, the more you can kind of come up. So there's a couple of things that I think we could touch on to support you in sharing our optimism. And you might want to add to these, but I'd really like us to touch on how powerful individuals are in this rebuild, but maybe first talking about embracing change, because we both were just chatting in the car on the way here about, what is it that's causing so much fear? Is it the fear of contracting the disease? My face is like lighting up, I'm sorry. Is it the fear of contracting the disease? I don't think so. Is it the fear of an economic downturn? I don't think so. Those things will be contributing, but it feels like we were saying to both of us that the biggest thing that is causing so much fear is fear of the unknown. And that is something that actually what you're experiencing now, the unknown that you're experiencing now, is no different to any unknowns you've experienced in the past. Yes, the scale is bigger. Yes, the impact is larger. Yes, the ramifications will be for a longer period of time. But is it any different to anything else? No. It is exactly the same as any unknown you have ever had to navigate. And that, I think, hopefully that in itself, but let's explore that a little bit.
Yeah, and this is something that, again, as I mentioned before, like these hypothetical scenarios or this future thinking, like when we're able to stay like with what is, like each time that we like through our lives we went through like the death of a relative or a friend, or losing like our job, or like any situation that put us in a limbo, in that place of unknown and uncertainty, and we were able to come out from the other side, like we can understand how for each of us this has an impact, and we know that we actually can come on the other side of that. And this is where resilience comes in. Like we are building more and more resilience each time that we go through all of these different challenges. And the more that we're able to stay present, the more that we're going to understand, actually as an individual, just me, now, today, like the situation is this. It's not all of that, it's just this. So can I stay with what is and accept that, I don't have the answers, but I can stay with it, because just as any other time that was a challenging time in our lives and we went through them, we can go through this as well.
Again, yeah. And I think there's a tendency to grip on to to exaggerate a shitty known seems to be, because it's safe, right? A shitty known is safe, and we grip onto that before we will take an unknown. So it's like if there was I'm just going to overlap with you. If there was like you can rest on my knee, it's okay. A lucky dip, it's like if one you were offered a beautiful fluffy teddy bear, and you're like, I don't really like teddy bears, but like that could be good. Or an unknown where you're like, oh, but it might not be as valuable as the teddy bear. Or it might not be as whatever as the teddy bear. I think I'll take the teddy bear. There's some people that will always take the gamble every time. And there's others that will go with what's safe. And unfortunately now we don't have the option. You don't actually have the option of the teddy bear right now, because the teddy bear is what's been washed away in the tide, as I said before. So it's exciting. It can be exciting, and I think we should talk about how. When I'm working with clients, a lot of the time, the only reason people are working with me in the first place is because they want to create change. They want to invite something new in their lives, whether it's a new mindset, a new job, a new body image, a new anything. And to create something new, if it's new, it means you don't know about it yet. If it's new, it means you don't know what it looks like, you haven't experienced it before. So it is unknown. So we want new, but we don't want unknown. What you have going on at the moment is known, but it cannot bring you to the new. So you can't, then they are mutually exclusive. You can't have both. If you want new, you need to let go of the old. Now in this case, this has not been a conscious letting go of the old. We didn't wake up and decide, oh, I would like my job to be stripped away, or I'd like my grandma to have coronavirus. None of us chose this gripping away. So I can understand first of all the resistance of, hang on a minute, I didn't ask for this. What option do we have, So now it's a case of, do I flow with it and make the best of it? Or do I sit in the resistance of, I didn't ask for this? And what advice, Brian, I've been talking too long. Yeah. What would you say? How can people decide to let go of the resistance and embrace the new?
I think that there's a couple of things. So the first is that not escaping from our experience and not deflecting. I'm going to super paraphrase. I'm going to, I think that I read, for the ones that know Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, I read some of her books a long time ago, perhaps over 15 years, so what I'm saying is completely on the top of my mind just now, but it's when we are dealing with loss, all of the different stages, and there's stages of denial, there's stages of being angry with it, there's stages of acceptance, there's stages of grieving, and allowing ourselves to go through all of that, and at the same time, perhaps not allowing ourselves to go deep into any of those, because all of those stages depends on the person, depends on the situation. They can happen all like that, or they can take months. So understanding that we're going through challenges times, and we're going to changes, and yes, we didn't choose these changes. So can we focus on accepting, no, this now is my reality, taking the time to accept that and to share what you're feeling. A lot of times, one of the reasons why we can't continue from where we are is because we are not opening up, we are not sharing. We think that other people might be judging us, and the thing is that now most people are going through something. So most people, if we reach out, if we say I'm going through this, then at least I'm starting to process that. And once I process that, I can come to the other side of that and be like, okay, now where are the opportunities? Where is the good on all of this? Because there is a lot of good, as we've been talking, all of the different possibilities. So allowing ourselves to be more present, to process what's happening, and to allow ourselves to focus on the possibilities. And sometimes that is, how can I help myself? How can I help others? It can be as small as that. It can be as small as if you're living with someone in your house. How can I help you? If you don't have someone in your house, go to your neighbor. How can I help you? That might be it. taking action and not just everything in our minds. Like even if it's a very small action, like a lot of times instead of that paralysis that happens when there's a lot of unknown, taking that next step, opening up, going and taking that small action of like, hey, how are you? Or going and like and dropping a little note or a voice message to a loved one. That might be it.
Yeah, it's sort of when you've come up with that resistance, you've got acceptance or change, really, don't you? And in this case, change is not really possible right now because we're in a bit of a limbo. So that acceptance piece is just so big, and like you say, just taking a couple of actions just to get yourself moving in that direction. And that doesn't mean that you can't continue to process the grief for what's been going on. You know, my sandcastle, I really loved my sandcastle, and it's okay to be feeling that, but I think there's no reason why you can't be taking that action at the same time. So we're not saying, you know, forget about your sandcastle, forget about everything, move forward. We're just saying bring that with you, process that as you go, reach out, talk to someone, but still take that first step of rebuilding. And I always use this analogy of, you know, if you imagine you're sitting on a beach and just with your finger, like let's say we're just having a conversation, I just draw a line in the sand while I'm talking to you, and I'm just chatting to you, and I'm kind of just drawing a line in the sand and drawing. Next minute I've drawn like quite a little tunnel, and I get a shell and I scoop it out, and all of a sudden I've built this kind of trench in the sand from just one action. And so the idea of like a thought is just one line in the sand. I think it again, it's a little bit bigger. I think it again, I do it again. Oh, I choose acceptance. Oh, this might be good for me. One line, one thought, build. At the same time, that deep trench of what was is getting slowly filled in. It's not about, you know, quickly going from one to the other. This is a big shift, and this goes with new job, new relationship, as we're saying, new change in general. Just one action, one thought at a time, and you just build that new, I mean, from a neuroscience perspective, you're building a new neural pathway, right? You're building a new subconscious thought pattern that's going to become your new normal. So just imagine that one action, like Brian said, if you can reach out to someone, that's just one new line in the sand. That's one new piece of your new sandcastle, if I'm going to continue with that analogy. And as you're building one new, just imagine one of the old ones falling away. It doesn't need to be drastic. Just one at a time, then one comes off. One comes on, one comes off. Oh, I got sucked into the bad thoughts. Shit, I put 3 or 4 in the old one. Oh, well, that's okay. I put 1 more in the good one. And you just keep going. And then all of a sudden, you'll feel the shift. You'll feel yourself being drawn into that new. And that's when you can kind of like, oh, it's not so unknown anymore. I feel momentum. I feel positivity. It starts to come to life. And I think that is just so exciting for anything you're trying to change in your life.
Yeah, and also like sometimes it is like having something there, like choosing the light, choosing love, choosing like something that will make you laugh even if it's for a moment, like going online and checking like all of the coronavirus memes, like just like even if it's just that, allow ourselves to like bring that laughter and that joy into our life. And that little moment, that's that new pathway, like it's allowing myself, instead of like staying on like on that grief, on staying on the lost, like bringing like, you know, like this new like drop of joy, of happiness, of love. And each time that I'm doing that, I'm going to actually make that bigger and bigger and bigger. So the more that we are able to like to connect with that, to bring that action, like go and watch like a comedy, whatever it is that needs to bring you to that place. If you can't do it by yourself, just by being, like use something external, like reaching out to other people. That is amazing, because then you're going to see how they are going to return that love back to you, and that is going to fill us up all together.
Yeah, which is a perfect segue into that other thing that I wanted to discuss, which was the impact of you as an individual. It is so easy to think, and we talk about this again in conscious action. This just goes to show that this is no different to anything that we've already been going through. If you take away the scale, this is the same. And so what we talk about is how, let's take ocean plastics, for example, which is the whole reason Brian and I are even sitting here. it's a problem that individuals feel is huge, because it is huge. And when individuals don't like what's going on with the ocean, but how do I change the whole ocean? It's an enormous problem that I myself cannot fix. Therefore, I easily can feel disempowered. The thing that we want to like drum home, and what we inspire in our audience at our events, and I know that this is true for people who come, is really kind of sharing that you are not separate from the whole. You are the whole. It's like you are one cell within the organism. You are one person. The earth is the organism. It's like an eye to the human body. It's like a leg on the spider. You are part of the whole. You are not separate. And that means that everything you feel, everything your cells, your energy, everything you're about is the whole. You are contributing to the whole. And I don't say this to overwhelm you or scare you or say you've got to go and be perfect if you want this perfect system at the end of it, or you want this perfect thing at the end of it. It doesn't mean you need to be perfect. It only means that whatever you're feeling, doing, experiencing, communicating is amplified. You are contagious. You yourself are contagious. So whatever you choose to transmit is going to be felt by the whole. So it's again exciting, because if you're feeling like we're all noticing the collective panic, the collective anxiety, if you can change your energy, if you can change the way you think, if you can drop, I like what you said about one drop in the joy jar, or one drop of joy, if you can do that, you're not only doing it to yourself, you are doing it to the whole. And if we all take responsibility for our little piece of the world, our little cell in the organism, we will shift so much. And that is so empowering.
Yeah, and just on top of that, like, responsibility is huge, but also compassion. Like, this is huge for every time that we talk about understanding. We're all different, we're all going through things differently, we're all having different circumstances, different conditionings. So understanding, being compassionate with ourselves, being compassionate with others. We have a responsibility, and it's not kicking ourselves in the butt because, oh no, I'm having like negative thoughts, or I'm panicking.
I just
it's
killed
like,
the organism.
Yeah,
no,
it's
you
like
didn't.
being okay with what it is, and then choosing consciously, okay, now that I'm on top of this, what am I choosing? Because yes, I have a responsibility. Whatever I'm doing, whatever I'm choosing, whatever my energy is, that is bringing that into a collective. So I need to understand that I have that responsibility, but also doing it from a kind and compassionate place.
It's like if you were to sort of graph it, it would be like 7 billion people on the planet going in and out, in and out, in and out. Oh, joy, fear, joy, fear, joy, fear. But if we can tip the scale, if we can get more and more people investing more and more joy, it doesn't, like you say, it doesn't need to be 100% of all the time. And yeah, that compassion is super important for yourself and for others. If you come across someone in the supermarket who is hoarding 50 rolls of toilet paper, don't judge them. Like, it's not ideal. It's less than ideal. There's lots of things that it is. But it's also like they are so scared. They are feeding off a collective energy. The whole world is talking about toilet paper. Therefore, the whole world is thinking, well, fuck, should I go and get some toilet paper? I wasn't going to, because everyone said don't go crazy, but like maybe I should. That's just how this happens, because this is what we're focusing on. So it's like, well, let's not judge anyone else. Let's just focus on our own little pillar of the corner, our own little corner of the world, and just focus on that.
And do the best that we can, the best that we know how. And again, being compassionate. Like, if you run into someone that is super stressed and panicking, and if you have the tools to be able to talk and connect to that person, and perhaps make them see that what they are doing perhaps it's not the best for them, feel free to do that. But if you don't feel like you have the tools to do that, what we might end up doing is actually having like a completely negative interaction there, and making things even worse, and like triggering people. So it's just like getting to the place of understanding, like, also, like, you know, as you say, like, that person is doing the best that they can with what they know, and they are thinking about their survival. This is going to happen for all of us. The survival, like that fight or flight reaction is going to come up in these situations. And the conscious thing to do is understanding that even though that will be triggered, can we see that we are all in this together? Can we see that the action of survival actually I can expand and say this is not just my survival, this is our survival. So how can I be part of that community? How can I expand that actions and that energy?
And you know, you just mentioned, you know, if you don't feel comfortable, or it's not a person that you maybe know, you don't feel comfortable having conversation or taking a physical action, taking a mental action is going to have just as much impact. So if you find yourself, let's just use this toilet paper woman for an example, if you find yourself just like boiling up with anger because of this toilet paper, or maybe you wanted to go and grab a roll and there was no more on the shelf, or you had one and she was staring at you because she wanted it, it's like, if I just go, okay, I'm going to let that anger go. If I let that go and I'm going to come back to that grounding of joy, I'm going to come back to that present moment, I'm okay, everything's all right, and you can let that go, then she is going to feel that, not only her but everyone. But in that moment, words may not be necessary. Your own calm, a smile, hey, you know what, go in front of me in the line. You know what, you have that last can of beans. Like, I mean, I experienced this yesterday, enormous queues in the countdown that I was in, and just seeing, anyway, making those kind of decisions to just go, okay, it's all right. And that has a huge impact. So don't always feel that you need to necessarily say or do anything. Just changing your own energy, your own internal state is going to have a big impact, because that stress response has a lot of physiological factors, you know, which maybe consciously we don't see, but subconsciously we are programmed to pick up on. Pupils dilating, a bit of flush in the cheeks, maybe some sweat, we get a bit tense, the shoulders rise up. You know, there are certain things that happen in the body when we become stressed that as humans, like animals, we start to pick up on. So if you can just relax, take a breath, change your internal state, then other humans are going to pick up on that, and that could be like one of the best actions that you could take at this time. So don't feel the pressure to stand on your soapbox like we're doing.
So like, just to finish, we're going to come back and continue doing this. We're going to put during the weekend, we'll come up with a time.
Why don't we just come up with a time now? Are you free tomorrow night?
I am, perhaps.
Okay, we won't come up with a time.
No.
Now. Come back to you.
We'll post it when we can actually do that, and create a time where we can come together and talk and just share how we are doing and create that space for connecting. Yeah,
I think there'll be like you can come with one of two things, or maybe you have both. I think come with your fears, come with your, come with anything that you would like transmuted or changed that we can help you with. Come with that, because just sharing it is going to alleviate some of that, and maybe we can, as a community, we can support you. Also, come with your act of kindness. Come with one that you've seen or done. Come with something that you've read. Like today, I saw a video of Italians doing the Macarena on their balconies. Like, how cool is that? You know, come with those stories so that we can offset some of the media stories. So come with both, come with one. If you're scared, come. If you're in a great place and you've got some positivity to share, come. We'll, as Brian said, we'll let you know when that's happening, but definitely encourage you to join. And like I just said, come if you think you can be of support, because if someone is looking for support, obviously Brian and I will be here, but if we have other people on the call that can offer that support, then that's going to just send even more love out. So if you're free, just come.
Yes, awesome.
Okay, we'll talk to you then.